In this very special interview I am bringing today, I will be talking with Dr. Beatrix Czeizel and Eniko Gresko from Hungary. They are residing in Budapest. These two amazing women have been chosen to bring in some of the highest and most powerful work I have ever come across in these many, many years of my journey. Unlike anything else, the 13 stellar nations of the Galactic Milky Way and their information will change your life. It will change you from the inside and the outside, and you will view the world in completely different ways than you ever expected. All that is required is a willingness and a deep curiosity to continue, to say yes to the possibility of something far greater that is being revealed to you. If you have the push and the feeling that you need to get a chart, absolutely do so. You will not be disappointed on how all life reveals itself from that moment on. So enjoy this amazing, beautiful, and magical journey that we will take you on.
We would like to share a little story, a background story, how the Stellar Nation teachings and the books were born, and what was the path leading to this moment. Because for me, my deep spiritual journey started in 1988 when I was only a 20-year-old teenager, so a pretty young woman, when I had a car accident, and I was at my first year of the medical university, but still experiencing this car accident, which was a near-death experience as well. And as I floated out of my body, and I was just floating above the car and the bridge around, and I saw the ambulance coming and all the things in one hand, and on the other hand, I experienced that we are much more than we think of. We are far more than our body. So I had started to have a beautiful journey. That was a spiritual revelation. That's why I call my rebirth and awakening point. And even though I experienced there a kind of crossroad, I was asked if I want to come back and continue my journey as a human being. And I sort of received a very, concentrated message about my life to come and to experience if I'm ready to start and come back. And even though probably a 20-year-old young woman cannot understand this whole thing, but still I felt that I am ready to come back and let my vision unfold day by day. And actually it wasn't an easy journey at the beginning, because I suddenly started to see the auras of people, and even being on a bus and everywhere, I started to see different energy formations around them. I started to see if they carry different kind of pain patterns. And it was such a paradox experience, being a medical student and being there in different practices in the hospital at the bedside. And I just didn't want to use my phonendoscope. I just felt that I feel much more and see much more of that patient in her aura field, and by just touching her, than using this whole medical stuff. So it was a nightmare going through the university. Actually, it was quite an inner conflict, but I knew that I have to finish it just to get more information. I in fact adore how God's beauty and perfection is within the body, actually. So that's fine as well. But I knew from that moment that my perspective can never be the same as it was before. And I knew that my path in healing will be much more an alternative way. And since my car accident, many people, many hundreds of people came for personal reading, because I started to read the Akashic records, the personal Akashic records first. So about 20 years, I performed soul healing sessions. But from that moment, I started to have visions of some galactic scenes and scenarios as well. And when we started to work together with Aniko in 1999, we started to receive information from the stellar world and different stellar realms. First, the Pleiadian stellar system opened up, and a bit later we understood why it was so important and why it was the basis that ruled our earthly lifetimes, many times actually, since Lemuria. And we released the first book that was called At the Gate of Cosmic Transfiguration. And later on, we shared this information in English in Stellar Destinies about the Pleiadian stellar system and the galactic history of the Pleiades, which is very important because they rule intimately the whole human evolution on Earth since Lemuria. Besides Sirius and the Orion and the Andromeda constellation was the first very important stellar realms that was decoded by our first two books. And that's how we arrived to 2005, actually, when the Celestial told that now a very new path is starting and we have to prepare for that. And we were asked to build a sanctuary for it as a first little thing. And it was so funny because we were called to perform for another group meeting, a Holy Grail ceremony. And we thought that for this, it is such a sacred thing that we must create this Holy Grail by ourselves. So we went for a Tiffany handcraft course that was 5 days anyway. And our first piece of art was this Holy Grail made from Tiffany art, from glass and different crystals. And the second piece of art was just this whole big sanctuary that we had to build, because the Celestial told that we have to build this special space, sacred space, which will be a sort of channel of the new information about the stellar realms.
That's the one you're photographed in.
Yes, yeah. And this is in the book as well.
Yes.
And we worked 4 months on this sanctuary without knowing that why we're doing it exactly and if it will work and what journey will launch from that moment. But I remember that it was 2005 November when the sanctuary was ready, and it was anchored to Antares, which is in the heart of the Scorpio constellation. And we were used to the stellar journey towards Archeon, which is in the 5th dimension. And Archeon holds the Akashic records of the solar system. So it was very important to be able to, fly through this stellar pathway in all our courses and in all our meditations for a few years already. But Antares and this very special stellar world resides on the seventh dimensional plane. And they told us that Antares is the container and the holder of the galactic Akashic records. And there, a very different approach was needed, because it is like all the codes of the galactic stories and the whole galactic Akashic records are recorded in sounds. So as if you would listen to these sounds. While in Alkion, we saw pictures and visions and images, and it was influencing our heart directly. And now working with Antares, it was a very different approach, and we had to listen and let ourselves be washed through these sounds. And the sounds were opening up into perceptions, into visions, into pictures, and into whole stories. So it was a very interesting path already. And it was interesting because to meet and to channel these seventh dimensional energy was very different and caused different physical perceptions and even physical pain, dizziness, headache, heaviness, a lot of things. And the celestial told that it is a process, so we must be patient and bear these different physical pain. And they told that they are now implanting a kind of stellar seed, which was anchored to our pineal gland and opened its aura field inside our head and inside our light body. And they told that this stellar seed has a kind of inner evolution. And first, it's a kind of bluish, silverish light. And on the second stage, it becomes a kind of fiery, orangish. And in the third phase, it becomes a kind of magenta color, which is actually Antares color. And afterwards, it's a kind of golden, glowing, beautiful flame. And when we reach this state, probably, these heaviness, dizziness, and headache were released. And afterwards, a beautiful journey started that lasted about 13 months. And honestly, every day about 8, 9, 12 hours in a meditation state, I was there and flying with the stories, flying with the different stellar realms, the different constellations, decoding them and recording the memories that I was gaining and receiving from these journeys. And it was a beautiful discovery, very exciting discovery journey. And in each month when we met with our group, we passed them the information that we just got about a few days before and the last month. So that's how we build it up month by month, the whole story and the information storage of the Milky Way galaxy that then we published in a book in Hungary, in Hungarian first in 2007, because the Celestial told that 2007 was a year when a big wave of stellar consciousness came down and was anchored to humanity and to the earth plane. So we all, light workers around the world, had to go through this evolution and become open towards these stellar codes that was anchored that time. And I knew, and we felt that it is still quite a journey to make this message be heard and be out of the world. And it was still a beautiful big step when we translated and released this information in English. The Stellar Nation Soul Families book came out in 2012. And then it is translated to German as well and to Russian. And now 2 weeks ago, it came out in Slovakian. So 200 Slovakian people is reading now at the
Wonderful.
same time. So we experienced that a huge wave of stellar consciousness is now bursting into the world again. So this is a really beautiful journey, and also very important because since our first book, the main focus of our mission was to prepare ourselves, our group, and, well, big word, but humanity as far as we can reach out,
Right.
for the ascension process and the ascension gate. And we knew that the stellar consciousness can give a lot to the light workers all around the world to be prepared for this ascension gate. And the reason why it is so important is that if we consider the birth channel and how a soul is being born, coming through a birth tunnel, so let's say a multidimensional soul restricts its being to embody a human form. It's quite a painful process anyway. And
True.
And the celestials showed us that when each soul is stopping at the gate of birth, a very specific, unique, and unrepeatable stellar and planetary bridge is opened. This cosmic pathway is actually a complex soul and life map. When a soul starts to descend in the ethereal birth tunnel, it makes its way through an energy field bearing multidimensional consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Its upper levels are woven of stellar beams that are just projecting into the particular time and space in which the spirit enters its fate on Earth, forming an accurate conjunctions with the planetary rays that are reflected in the lower levels of this field, which are the fine etheric codes transmitted by the planets of the solar system. So when a soul enters the ethereal tunnel of its incarnation and starts to descend through that particular bridge of light, then it actually steps through and interdimensional gates to approach the level of Earth. And meanwhile, we receive a kind of multidimensional hologram. But it's very interesting that while the stellar matrix of this hologram holds our true spiritual roots, multidimensional spiritual roots, on the other hand, the planets and the planetary matrix and hologram that we receive are about our coming life and life plan. So that is the blueprint of our life plan. But as we come through the gate, or the void of the fifth and fourth dimensional gate, we sort of meet the sun's gate. And in the sun's gate, we receive a kind of code of our life plan as a blueprint. And we receive the blessing of the ascended masters and the angelic beings of the sun's gate. But then we have to continue our path and come through the lower octave of the fourth dimension, which is the astral plane, unfortunately. We all have to come through this plane, which is the mist of oblivion, unfortunately. And the very important thing is that during the processional cycle, so during this 26,000 years, we only have 2,000 years of remembering and 11,000 years of spent in oblivion. So while we are descending, most of the time, our stellar memory and our stellar code are detached from us. We lose that understanding. And as we come through the astral plane, the astral stratum, let's say, we lose our stellar memories. And as we descend even more, well, we embody and we cry. We cry because we forgot who we are and why we are here. And we might understand only through our life path, our planetary matrix, and start to remember our life plan. But this is astrology only. So astrology can open up these planetary rays that influence our pathway, and we can understand a lot of things like this. But with the Stellar Nation teachings and understanding, decoding and understanding our galactic past, galactic roots as a spirit, as a soul, and as an embodied human being, we gain a vast information. We gain a fantastic multidimensional consciousness and ability as well. And the most important thing, that we understand our true mission. We understand our deep desires for the different things, our feeling of loneliness here on earth that can only be healed by understanding that we belong to many different stellar realms as well. And we live there parallel. So this is not about at all about UFO sightings or extraterrestrials. This is much more very special cosmology. And we receive that information, and now we can turn to the 13 stellar nations a tiny bit. That, in fact, when a being, individualized light, steps out from the universal one, the universal oneness, arrives to a state of being a spirit, still being in a very deep connection with the all that is, with the universal source of all life and all being. But we are started to become individual or a bit individuated beings. But still there is 3 different choices that we can choose from on the spirit level. And that's how we understood this was an angelic path, the path of the cosmic human, or the third one is the 13th stellar nation, which is the path of the Holy Spirit. And this determines a lot of things. And I prefer not to put some labels and use some little words to explain these stellar nations, because the book itself is an initiatory path. So it is important to read chapter by chapter and give ourselves to this journey. But still, just with a few words, I would tell that on the spirit level, we can choose from these 3 paths. And then as we descend and become even more individuated beings and choose from the soul level, our soul flame can fall into 9 different chalices. And these 9 different stellar pathways can be on the soul level: the cosmic human, the unicorn stellar nation, the winged lion stellar nation, the Pegasus stellination, the stellination of the serpents, especially the Melchizedek consciousness line, and the Bear Nation, which is the Christ consciousness and the Christ mysteries. It can be also on the soul level, Neo-Maze Nation, as we call this, is the cosmic arthropods.
Right.
And the dolphins can come this. And the ninth is the angel's path. And then if we choose to fall into a body and body our spiritual being and lead ourselves through experiencing even more through a physical body, then we can choose from 8 different paths. This can be the stellar pathway embodied as a dragon. It can be the stellination of the great felines. It can be the priestesses of the goddess, which is the female serpent line. It can be the arthropod nation again on the physical level. Then it can be the pathway again, the bear nation. We know the teddy bear body. And it can be the whale body. It can be the stellination of the birds, which is the fairy body, bodily expression. And finally, the 8th one is the cosmic human. So we as cosmic humans can be the universal chalice that we can experience all the stellinations, and we are here to express all of them or experience all of them. So in fact, with the knowing and the knowledge of the stellinations, the life itself and the life as humans can be valued much more and can be understood much more. And also, as I told, the 13 stellinations, these are different paths, different mission codes, different characteristics. And I'm sure that with that understanding, we can feel, respect, love, and understand each other on the world much more, because we can recognize these codes within each other and we can understand the other person, knowing that he or she acts like this and this because she and he holds, for example, the Pegasus or the unicorn or the female or male serpent code. So he or she expresses that, and that's fine. That's his path. So I think we gained a lot of love, understanding, and respect through this and through this stellination journey, which is already a part of our life for so many years now.
Right.
Actually, since 2005 and even before with the Pleiadian and other stories.
That was an awesome explanation. For the amazing work. And since 2017, which was when I met you and started working with the codes, I am amazed how over time you can start really identifying circumstances that you become this or that part of one of the nations and how it plays out in so specifically. And I realized that when I was out on the ranch in the last 7 months, how specific the codes were coming through and how you did the solar returns for me for Mount Shasta and for Tucson. And I realized not in the beginning, you can't see anything, but then halfway through the 6 months point, I looked back, and I'm in Tucson, Sedona, Tucson, that area. And I looked back at what those codes were saying. And I could never have imagined how it played out, but they were absolutely correct. And so now that I've moved back into Shasta, the code has changed locations.
Yes.
And now I'm seeing how those codes, even though I don't know how they're going to play out in the next 6 months, so to speak, I have much more awareness of how they work. And that is what's remarkable. And it's like no other discipline and modalities are enough anymore. They don't say enough. They touch the surface, and you scratch away a little bit, and then you scratch away with another one and another one. But it's the stellar codes, the Antares codes that literally, as you say, give you these multi-dimensional layers, and you feel the cells in your own body literally activating when its Pegasus opens up, or when Unicorn activates your dreams. You can literally feel them in different parts of your body activating. I mean, and this last 6 months or 7 months in the desert literally showed me how that works.
Exactly. And anyway, it's very important that because 2022 is again a year of the unicorns. And I told to all our students that don't look around. Don't deal with the world that is going mad now. Actually, it's gone mad.
It's gone mad.
It's gone mad in the last 3 years completely.
Yeah.
And don't look around. Don't deal with that, because creation comes within, out, towards outside. And if we buy these incredible fear implants that we are just getting and showered and bombarded with all that fear and energy, crisis and financial crisis and all that artificially provoked situation, of course, again, as always, we told that now create your dreams, anchor your dreams, start to act. We must not spend this year passively. We must not wait one moment with not creating what we need to and what we wish for. And we must learn and sort of learn on a second and different level how to create as an individual, as a multidimensional being, a beautiful, powerful soul from inside out, no matter what happens outside. Because the next year, according to the celestial, will be the year of the angels, which will be much harder. And if it is true, and if it will work, that the next ascension gate can come in 2030, while we know exactly that the dark forces work exactly for that moment as well. So probably that will be an incredible division from light and dark, light and shadow, whatever we think of. Anyway, we need to prepare for the next ascension gate, I think, in a much harder circumstances than we prepared for 2012. So it's a much harder journey. So that's why we must learn. And this year is very important. It's crucial in that, because we started this new cycle of evolution with this year with the unicorn codes. And that's why I think this is the easiest year from these 8 years, I tell you. So that's why it is very important that we must launch all those what we want to see back from in our life in the next years. So I think unicorns codes are very important, and we must anchor all our dreams on whatever we want.
So we're beginning this at a very opportune time to to start a new cycle of
Yes.
information out to more people. So many blessings to you, Beatrice and Nico. Thank you so much. And I will get this edited and we will send it back to you and go from there. All right.
Many, many blessings to you as well. And thank you for inviting. And I really hope that this will be a valuable information for light workers all around the world who can be receptive for the stellar consciousness.
Yes. To be willing to be receptive. That's the biggest thing. Okay. Yes. Many blessings.
So, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.